2022 done, and we fulfilled our New Year's resolution. We did 52 episodes without missing a week this year. So there it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is the 52nd episode.
Yeah. I didn't actually count them, but I guess I'm assuming that there's no weird math in there. So 52 episodes, 52 weeks. We didn't miss a week.
Right. And this makes this episode 95 of Adult Music. The podcast,
count it that way. That's right.
With music for the mature mind. And this is a special episode
where
we go back and we're going to review all those 51 episodes. That's Adult Music episodes 44 to 94.
Right.
And we're going to talk about the music that stuck with us the most, I guess.
Yeah, this is the Simpsons Halloween episode where we're just going to do this one special episode every year, the last one of the year.
The last one.
Yeah, now everybody else's year-end list can't come out earlier, I guess, so you can buy things for Christmas. But, of course, we're actually recording today on Christmas Day, aren't we?
It's Christmas Day in the Mountain Lair.
In the Mountain Lair. We're both here, face-to-face.
Upstairs. That's me, Russ.
And me, Mike.
And Mrs. Russ is downstairs preparing some goodies for us.
Does she like that name, Mrs. Russ?
Well,
I'm going to call her that and find out.
Call her Mrs. Russ. And we've already got some beers going. If you hear any extra noises, this podcast is a little bit festive, so we're going to run a little bit loose and free here compared to usual. And there may be some other background noises because there's some helicopters going over the Mountain Lair today and some other sounds too.
I'm even wearing my festive socks today.
Look at that.
What color would you say those are?
Oh.
I'm going to go for umber.
Oh, I was going to say rusty. But,
rust. It could be rust. I don't know. I just like saying umber. I'm not even sure what color umber is, but I just like the I like the sound of it.
We're going to have a little feast when we finish this up.
We are.
We've got some...
Russ is going to carve the roast beast like the Grinch did back in the day.
We've got some venison sausages. We've got some good steaks and other things to go. We got a lot of wine. Yeah. And you brought over some port wine, too.
I got some port wine, too. That would be nice. It'd be a different kind of...
That's right.
Christmas this year. Yeah, we even got some Christmas beer. I don't know if listeners know this, but the Belgian Stella Artois beer was originally released to celebrate Christmas. It was a seasonal beer, but now it's, of course, year-round. But I still think of it kind of as a Christmas beer. It's got the green bottle with the kind of white and red label on it. So
I think I might have a couple glasses we can use specially for that.
I actually have one of those myself with the gold rim on it. They're really nice.
Well, let's see. All we got to do is get through talking about all this music. Now, this is going to be, as I said, we're going to run a little bit loose and free today, and we're not going to go into the detail that we usually do. I guess that's our style, to go track by track and get deep inside the music. But rather, we'll give our general impressions and memories, and we'll give you the episode numbers and titles. If you want to go back and check out those reviews in detail, you can do it in that way. But as always, we'll provide you with some streaming links in case you want to just listen right away. Now, before we get into everything here, I'll remind everyone that in the episode description for this episode, like all others, you can find those links to Spotify and Apple Music for the music we'll discuss. Now, we usually have a full episode playlist on Deezer. I think I'll try to make that. There's going to be a lot of music here, all in one place. I'll do the best I can. Now, Deezer is our favorite CD quality streaming platform from France, although we're going to have a lot of Hyperion recordings in the classical category, which are not available on streaming. But I'll put the Hyperion links if you want to hear samples of those and decide if they're worth your purchase. But most of them are, to be honest. Yeah,
I'm going to say if you buy classical CDs, or if you want to buy any of these on CD, go for the Hyperion ones. They're all going to be worth it. You can't get these streaming, and you're really missing out. Gramophone Magazine in Britain chose the Chandos label as their label of the year this year. And I'm looking at my list, and I don't think I have any Chandos recordings on the list. I can't see any, but I have several on Hyperion. I think they should have been the label of the year. Let's just say our classical label of the year is definitely Hyperion.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
So you can check all those things out. Our podcast also is on Deezer as well as every other platform. If you want to check us out there, you can get the podcast and the recordings in the same place. Just look us up, Adult Music Podcast. Now, wherever you listen to us, if you don't see these links I'm mentioning or things don't come in clear, as it goes through the feeds, sometimes things aren't visually represented the way we want them to be. So you can always come to our host site, podbean.com, Podbean. Everything's clear and easy to follow there. Now, if you enjoy the podcast today, please do follow or subscribe wherever you listen to us. Tell a friend too. That's the best way to spread people who are interested in this kind of music we talk about. And if you give us a ranking, write a review, that helps us get listed in the browsing category recommendations, and we get more listeners that way too. You can also come over, check us out on our Facebook page. You get extra info during the week. Releases as they come up, I put them up there. We may or may not get to them in an episode, so if you're looking for something new to listen to during the week, you can always get a few excellent new jazz releases or some classical commentary from Mike as well. You can leave a message there, comment on Facebook as well, see our handsome faces. And if you want to contact us directly, you can get in touch by email. We'd like to hear from you, any comments or questions. Our email address is adultmusicpodcast, all one word, @gmail.com. And before we get into the program, we're also working with a few other podcasts to share our audiences. Here's a few music-related ones you may be interested in. First of all, we've got Something Came from Baltimore from Tom Gauker. It's not about Baltimore, really. It's a jazz, blues, and R&B interview podcast featuring well-known musicians from around the U.S. Check that out. Also, Famous Interviews in Neon Jazz. That's by Joe Domino. He interviews artists, musicians, and writers. And then we've got Same Difference. Two jazz fans, one jazz standards. Johnny Valenzuela and Tony Habra look at several versions of the same jazz standard each week. They play little snippets from them, discuss the history of the original and the different versions. And you'll find links to all those podcasts at the bottom of the description. And if you stick around to the end of this episode, you can hear their little promo clips. So please do check those out.
Yeah, I think last year we were talking about New Year's resolutions coming up. I don't think we're going to make the New Year's resolution of 52 episodes next year, although we may very well do that, but I'm not going to make it a resolution this year. Last year we knew we would. We knew we were going to do it this year, but we're not as determined last year. But nevertheless, we might still do it. I'm going to make a New Year's resolution this year for myself.
Okay.
I haven't been posting lots of classical stuff on the Facebook page, and this year I'm going to make sure I do that more. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I get some videos or even just kind of new classical listings, things that I like Russ has been doing that won't necessarily appear on the podcast, but that nevertheless kind of excite me as far as hearing them go. Right. And that'll include opera, because we don't talk about opera here because it's just too much work. Hearing an opera like every once in a while, it would just take too much. You need the text, and it's like usually a 2 or 3 CD set, like 2 or 3 hours of your time, and we work during the day. We would be glad to feature opera if this was our full-time job, but at the moment it's kind of not really doable. Yeah.
Now, a couple of things about the music we're going to talk about today. This is the best of what we've already talked about. So that's 51 episodes, at least 6 recordings per episode. So there's more than 300 recordings there.
And I heard more than that.
Oh, sure.
As did you during the year. We just didn't feature them all on the podcast.
So we're kind of just reviewing what we talked about. And there's some obvious omissions of music that we really like.
Yeah.
Now, we'll get to mentioning those. There'll be some overlap with the famous music websites and magazines. Right. But what we hope and expect that anyone who's out there listening to us is that you come to listen to us and look at our recommendations every week to find music that's not going to show up anywhere else, but is of equal and sometimes better or more interesting quality content in a lot of ways. Yeah. And that's why we're kind of doing this too, because no one else seems to keep up with all the releases that come out there. And you see the same names in the awards and in the polls. So you can get a little different perspective, from our angle and hopefully find something new that you haven't heard yet this year.
Right. And I want to say that we're calling this a best of episode, but it's really it's not. That's not objective. It's just the music we liked the most that we featured on the podcast this year.
Right.
So we're not making this all embracing sort of comment that this was the best classical or jazz album of the year. It's just the ones that we wound up listening to and liking the most.
Yeah, the ones that came back to listen to the most, and where I couldn't decide between things, I erred on the side of getting some variety. So if I already had,
well, in the shorter list, I did that. Not in the longer one. I was a little bit more like what I liked. Yeah. And
we're going to follow the tradition that we established last year. We're going to do this in the Bizarro method.
It's really the Saturnalia method, where the servants become the masters and the masters the servants. They sort of reverse roles.
And what we mean by that is normally Mike picks the classical selections each week, and I pick the jazz, and we send them to each other. And we may chat a bit about them during the week, but we don't really know what the other one feels about until we get on the episode. Well, here I'm taking over the classical picks, so I'll give my 10, and Mike will add on any that I miss.
Other ones that I liked.
And then vice versa, Mike will give his jazz picks, and I'll add the additional ones that I really liked.
Yeah, because really one of the reasons we do this podcast is we've been turning each other on to the music each other likes for 20 years now. Yeah. And so we're just doing this for all of you now.
It's continuation, and you're all invited.
Yeah, you're all invited now.
As a matter of fact, you'd be invited to the Lair for Christmas dinner if you could be around here. Yeah.
Okay, so classical first, I guess.
That's right.
Because we go for the oldest composed music first, so I don't know.
And these are not in order of worst to best. What I have them in is in order of chronological episode order.
Oh, I didn't do that. In jazz, I did. I'll explain when we get to it, but what I did.
Okay.
So as I said, this is his top 10, and then I'm going to
you'll
fill it out with things that I liked. Okay, it'll be maybe more than 10. It depends.
Right. Okay. And so this is episodes 44 to 94 from this year. We're going to start out episode 48, which was called Crafty Complications.
Okay.
And let's see, that was released January 31st.
I think I have this at the top of my list, and I think I know what it's going to be. Let's find out.
It's on Hyperion.
Okay, I know what it is.
Okay. Yeah, CPE Bach Sonatas and Rondos, Marc-André Amlam.
Yeah.
And so
fantastic.
We both like Marc-André Amlam. I think you introduced me to him years ago. We both really like CPE Bach. And this recording has a lot of things that are new to me. What's the one? Frère Fantasy?
Yeah.
I had never heard that. I really liked it. And I thought Amlam draws out Bach's personality. I can recognize it even hearing a lot of these works for the first time.
Right.
And he strikes a nice balance with his touch on the piano. And I never really wished that I was hearing these on a harpsichord or anything, because he has that kind of springy touch.
Yeah, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be on a harpsichord, because he's still, he's towards Mozart's era more, so he could be on that one of those early pianos.
The early pianos, right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that one, my first pick.
I picked this one. This one was at the top of my list, actually, too, because CPE Bach, one of the things we love about him, and the thing that turned us both on to CPE Bach, was a 2012 recording by Andreas Steyr of the 5 concertos. I just said he doesn't have to be played on the harpsichord, but for harpsichord. And the thing we loved about that one back in the day was that Steyr really got the humor in CPE Bach's music. Now, part of the reason you don't really know CPE Bach's music very well is because it's usually played straight, but there are a lot of little harmonic jokes and, just pauses and slamming on the brakes and just odd chords every once in a while. And Marc-André Amlam really knows how to make those register. And this was just a fantastic presentation of CPE Bach keyboard works. They're for the piano on this recording. It's on Hyperion. It's also a double CD, and that means there's a lot of it. So I don't know that I'd listen to it all in one go. It's pretty long, but it might be a little bit too much practical joking for your for one sitting.
Indeed.
But really well worth hearing. And not only that, the recording is great. Amlam's playing is fantastic. His sound is well captured. It's just a great album all around.
All right, the second one, this was probably going to surprise you a little bit that I picked this, but this is episode 50, which was our anniversary episode, actually.
Yeah.
We called it First Anniversary Renaissance Men. This is also on Hyperion. It's the Florentine Renaissance
Oh,
by
wow.
Orlando Consort.
Yeah, I didn't pick this one. Wow, good.
So
Wow.
I wanted to have at least one vocal, and anyone who listens to us regularly will know that we're both largely instrumental, pickers in any category.
And in fact, I don't have any vocal on my classical list, which is really kind of sad for me. I should have gone out of my way, but I was being really strict about what I really liked this year.
And we did another Josquin recording this year too, but I picked Josquin last year, so I wanted something a little bit different. And so Orlando Consort, yeah, I really like Renaissance, early Baroque vocals.
I do
have
too.
to go for period. Here you've got 4 male voices, very clear recording, great intonation and enunciation of the material that comes through. I really like the unexpected voice leading that comes through in this time period. I don't know really any of the composers from this period. The names that appear on here were kind of, well, I should say new.
Yeah, they're all
they're new to me,
for
but
me
they're
too.
from
No, for me too.
From really.
They're specifically hired by the Medicis at the time in Florence. And I spent some time in Florence, so I was kind of interested in this. I don't really know much about the music of the time, so this was a big discovery for me too.
But if you want to hear just pure voice, blending, interesting harmonies, I can really recommend that one. Even I enjoyed that.
I think you'll like what I've got coming up then in January, February, in the new year.
Great.
There's some more of this sort of thing.
All right, next, I'm going to jump ahead to episode 64, Menage a Trio. And this is also on Hyperion, the Leonore Piano Trio, Bargiel Piano Trios 1 and 2.
Okay. I don't have this one on my list, but I was looking at it. And I was like, but there was another. I'll get to it when we get to it. But yeah.
And so this one I picked for the surprise factor because I had never heard these before, but I thought that they're as good of a romantic trio as any in the time period, in the big repertoire that comes from there. They're full of quickly changing emotions, sweeping themes draw you in romantically. There's a lot of interesting rhythmic things happening, nice melodies, and the performance is outstanding too. Great tone, passionate, and it's got some really bubbling piano things in it too. Yeah, I really like these.
I haven't heard this in a while. I'm going to have to go back to it and listen to it. This is one of the reasons I like doing this episode so much, is it sends me back to a lot of these recordings and just want to hear it. Yeah.
These made a big impression on me. All right. Next, just a couple episodes after that, episode 66, Keyboard Seasoning. Again, Hyperion. Stephen Osborne.
Oh.
Rachmaninoff Piano Sonatas, number 1.
I have this one too. This was electrifying playing, man. Boy. Yeah.
So, just to hear him do Rachmaninoff was great. And again, I think here there were a lot of pieces, although I'm a big Rachmaninoff aficionado, that I hadn't heard before as well. Just look at my notes here.
I think Piano Sonata number 1 was on that, and the Moments Musical also.
Piano Sonata number 1, that's right. Which
is really not played very often, right?
Right. What else do we have? Oriental Dance, so these rolling waves of sounds, Vespers, and Moments Musical.
Right.
Right. Yeah, just great. And, the way he can really get these waves of sound and hammering in those pieces.
And he's a Scottish pianist, and he gets the Russian idiom. I'm always fascinated by that. A few years ago, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, he did a record of Mettner Piano Sonatas and Rachmaninoff Piano Sonata number 2, which he sort of wrote a new kind of ending to. I don't remember exactly what he did, but that was equally fascinating. He's really great at this. Stephen Osborne is really one of my favorite pianists out there, and there's a new recording of the lighter Debussy piano works that I haven't put on the podcast, but may well do in the new year. We'll have to see depending on how fast the 2023 recordings start coming out, but we'll see.
Skip ahead a little bit to the next one, episode 71, A Breeze from Brazil.
Oh, wow.
Also, Hyperion. And this was Jacob Reuven and Omer Mir Velber, mandolin and accordion. Vivaldi and Piazzolla, the Mandolin Seasons.
Yeah, this is high on my list. This was really exciting, this record. Yeah.
Just because this one is so much fun, it's almost one of those recordings that's impossible to not like because of the exuberance and energy. The mandolin is electrifying. It'll really make you think about Vivaldi in a whole new way,
right?
Hearing it done on mandolin.
Now, there are mandolin concertos by Vivaldi, but these aren't them. This is the Four Seasons mandolin.
And somehow the combination with Piazzolla, which is hard to sort of picture in your mind, just works. And the playing is amazing, and the sound on this Hyperion recording is spectacular. So it's just a really fun one for me. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was the man. I need to single out the mandolin playing on this record. He was really fantastic technique and just lightning fast playing, and you just don't really hear the mandolin even played like this very often. Not to mention that's just those famous Vivaldi Four Seasons works. Yeah. It's really great.
Next, from episode 73, Heavy Hitters, and well, we've done a lot of Wranitzky this year.
Oh, this was a great one. Yeah, I know which one it's going to be too.
Yeah, we did the oboe concerto, and we did, I think 4 altogether this year. But this one is really dynamic, and I think probably has the greatest chance of, making a big impact on the public, because of this group performing here. So this is the Paul Wranitzky Symphonies, and it's Academy for Alte Musik Berlin. And, well, this has got some things we've heard before, but some things that we haven't. We've got an overture, Oberon Overture, Symphony in C minor, which has some really explosive and dynamic things that leap out in the percussion. Then we get Symphony in D major, and then D minor, La Tempesta, which we had heard before in a different recording. But these are all just extremely dynamic performances, very enthusiastic. The tempos are just really engaging, and an absolutely fabulous sonics on this recording. And,
the sonics were really what drew me. Not only that, the energy of the playing as well. Yeah. This really had, if you remember back in episode 10, which I think most people heard, that was the booze one. Yeah. I remember the title. It had a long title. But I had said that it's that first Wranitzky recording that we did, I made some comments about how I like music to sound, and it's almost as though this ensemble heard me what I said and just put it all in there. This is really really what I look for in music, and I really think that you had introduced the Wranitzky recording on that one. I didn't pick it, but I think that even if we hadn't talked about Wranitzky and gotten in touch with Daniel, that we would have done this one. I would have found this one because it's just really fantastic. Yeah. Really exciting playing, and the dynamics. If you have a really good stereo, and even if you don't, but even so, if you have a really good stereo, it's just the timpani and things like that just come booming out of the speakers. It's just fantastic. It's like
really good.
Yeah, it's like it's how when you watch a horror movie and it's like you're scared but you're safe. Right. It's kind of like being in a old ancient times war situation. You're being shot, but you're really not. You're just being impacted by these sounds. It's really fantastic.
Yeah. So if you haven't heard any of the Wranitzky, you can start there, and you do no wrong starting from that point. And I think you'll get hooked, and you want to hear more of his music.
Yeah, I think so too.
Really good.
And I'll recommend a few other recordings by him at the end. Yeah, but they're not on my. I just want to give a few shout outs at the end.
I could have easily put all of them in because I like them, but
we're picking a top list here. Yeah,
and so keeping variety, jumping into the modern day, going up to episode 75. This episode was called Rags and Other American Riches, and American it is with Peter Boyer, Balance of Power Orchestra Works on Naxos.
Yeah. That was interesting. It was really uplifting music. And very, for us Americans, too, both of us are Americans, very sort of, it's a very American, positive, optimistic sort of sound to it.
American composer and conductor here, Peter Boyer, conducting the London Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah, who didn't write back to us? You should have written to us,
yeah.
Peter. Peter, listen to this podcast and write to us. I want to hear from you. I've got the other two Naxos CDs now because I like this one too. I didn't put this one on my top list, but I did like it a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, to hear, contemporary new music, this positive sounding, unashamedly American. The melodies just are endless. He's got a really ear for keen melodies, intriguing orchestrations, and what I always like, tons of brass and percussion in the scores. Big fanfares blasted out that contrast with pastoral themes. Nice woodwinds as well. And there's a couple all-string works on there too, and I really like the arranging to get the lushness out of the orchestra. Kind of reminded me of the things I like from Vaughan Williams and that. And also great sound from Naxos too. Real ear candy America classical recording there.
Yeah, I'm going to repeat something that I said on that episode. I think that America's great gift to the world is our optimism.
Yeah.
And I really, as someone living in a foreign country in Japan, and I've traveled through Europe a lot, and Americans are just, we've got something. I don't see this anywhere else. We just really think we can achieve these things that seem unachievable, whereas other people say, "Oh, you'll never do that." And I think this music really embodies that. So if you really need a lift, I think this is really good music to listen to.
Okay, going to the 2 episodes after that. Episode 77 was called Poetry Passport. More variety. Flamenco, Pasado y Presente, Naxos World, Ignacio Lusardi Monteverde.
I was looking at this one, and I didn't put it on my list. I'm glad you did, because I did like it. But,
I wanted to get something different, a little solo guitar. Now, we had done his recording
I know you
last
like this artist a lot, as I do too.
And I purchased both of these. Here, the one before was sort of incorporating a lot of influences on flamenco from the Silk Road. So he had sort of Indian music and other kind of influences. This one, if I remember correctly, was sort of focusing on different forms inside flamenco with the different dances.
That's right, yeah.
Extensive notes about the history and the different rhythms. It's a nice package. Good instrumentation here. The guitar sounds fabulous. He does the engineering and recording on his
he's very good at this too,
well.
as he is as a guitarist as well.
The other instruments sound really good as well, and excellent quality sound. If you like flamenco music and you want to dig into the history of the different rhythms and dances, check out this and the previous recording as well.
I like this one too, and actually I liked the previous recording better, which is kind of why this one didn't get on, but it's still pretty spectacular. I liked it a lot. I thought this was a little more I don't even want to say this, 'cause, it's certainly not academic sounding, but I felt like it kind of took more of an academic approach. So I just liked the earlier one better. But this is highly recommendable. Yes, it's not academic. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me.
Yeah, it's good, good sounding.
Yeah.
All right, I head to episode 82.
What number is this, by the way?
Which one?
The one you're going to do now.
Oh, let's see. I think I have 2 more.
Okay.
Yeah. Episode 82, Bon Appetit.
Bon Appetit, trombone, right?
Yes. But this is not trombone. This is trumpet. Tomasi Jolivet, others French trumpet concertos.
Yeah.
Hakan Hardenberger with the Royal Stockholm Philharmonic Orchestra, conducted by Fabian Gabel.
I have to hear this one again. I did like it. I remember.
Bis.
I didn't list this one either. We're going to have a pretty interesting classical list, actually.
So, coming up, I was a trumpet player when I was young, playing classical music. And at that time, we had Haydn, Hummel, and Hindemith. And we didn't get to hear a lot of modern trumpet concertos. And here, I knew the Jolivet for a long time, but he's got some other works that I hadn't heard. And what really makes this great is a lot of this modern 20th century trumpet works. They can be cold, angular, kind of esoteric. He makes them very musical and quite enjoyable. And he has a real palette of trumpet tones and ways of phrasing, flawless technique, always sounding regal with a wonderful tone, and really makes these works sound as good as they can possibly sound, which is quite good and interesting. And it's an excellent sounding recording, as usually is the case on Beasts. So if you're a trumpet or brass fan and you have maybe a negative image of sort of the more 20th century works, this one may bring you over.
Yeah, I want to say something about 20th century works in general. We kind of think of it as avant-garde, the 12-tone and dodecaphonic or atonal music. But there was tonal music being written throughout the 20th century. You just didn't hear it. And now we're getting to hear a lot of it on recordings. So don't be afraid of the 20th century. There was a lot of good stuff after the war, too. And this is these compositions are one of them. Håkan Hardenberg is one of maybe the great classical trumpet player out there. He's got a fantastic tone and technique, and he really gets all of the styles really well too. So this is highly recommended, and it's an SACD if you have the equipment for that. Great sound quality, DSD sound.
All right, and my last one here. Well, I've got a lot of sort of newer music or kind of interesting takes on older music. So I wanted to go with something everyone's heard hundreds of times, but I thought this was well worth hearing again. Episode 83, Beefy Beethoven and Big Band, and Beefy Beethoven it is. And
which
that's
one, though?
The Beethoven Symphony No. 2.
Yes, that was the one I would have picked. Okay,
with
good.
Brett Dean.
Okay.
BSO Recordings.
Yeah.
How do I say this? Bayerisches
Rundfunk, is that it?
Stadtorchester.
Stadtorchester, okay.
Vladimir Jurowski.
Bayerisches, that's the...
Anyway, the Brett Dean is not really that uplifting. It's kind of interesting, though. But this Beethoven 2 might just be my new favorite recording.
It's great.
The recording.
It's one of my favorite of Beethoven symphonies. That I always say the 7th is my favorite, but I don't know. I like the 2nd a lot. It's not a cool one to like, but it's kind of...
The performance is stately, really dynamic, and a thrilling experience. It was like hearing it again for the first time. So.
Yeah, that one's not on my list, but I did, again, I liked everything that you picked here, and I'm kind of glad that we do this.
Yeah, and that's it. There's my 10.
There you go. Russ's 10. Now, I've got actually a very different list here. I kind of branched out a bit. Now, for me, the artist of the year is Marc-Andre Hamelin, and we already picked his CPE Bach, but I had that, and I also had his William Bolcom, The Complete Rags, which is on episode 75, Rags and Other American Riches, from August 8th. It's another double album, and again, Marc-Andre Hamelin, just fantastic. Yeah. We always thought of him as a super virtuoso, but he also... technically he's Canadian. He was born in Quebec, but he gets the ragtime form really well and puts these Bolcom works. They're all ragtime works. Bolcom in his notes talks about how this was sort of a thing at the time in the 60s and 70s where
the sting
Americana was coming back, and composers were just composing like these ragtime pieces and sending them to each other in the mail and sort of things like that. And Marc-Andre Hamelin has recorded them all here, and it's just fantastic. The feel is just great. You're never going to hear better performances of these.
I like that. Yeah, I was impressed with his ragtime feel because it's all about those snappy rhythms and sort of getting into that ambiance, bringing back that era, and he did a really good job. The only reason I didn't pick this compared with his the recording is just. Yeah, you're going to get really ragged on here because there's a lot of rags to go through. Yeah,
but it's just such a great kind of...
It's exhaustive and exhausting a bit.
Yeah.
But, excellent work.
It's a great thing to have as a catalog of these works. Right. Okay, next, from a very recent episode, this is... by the way, I should mention the Bolcom, of course, is on Hyperion Records. Once again, our label of the year. You're not going to be able to hear this unless you buy it, sadly. But you can sample it at Hyperion's site. Okay, next episode 94, Something is Swinging in Denmark, which we did just last week.
Wow.
This is Les Frères Francoeur by Théotime Langlois de Swart and Justin Taylor on the Alpha label. And Théotime Langlois de Swart had 2 really good albums this year. The other one was of violin concertos by Vivaldi, Leclerc, and Locatelli. But I chose this one, first of all, because it's very present in my ear. And I like Langlois de Swart in his chamber mode, let's say. In this case, he's playing with another great musician, Justin Taylor, the harpsichordist. And I just loved the way he would sort of take these lines and just sort of, stretch them out and just accent certain notes. He has a beautiful big tone. I loved what Justin Taylor was doing on the harpsichord. He's effectively playing continuo, I think, but he's got all these really great arpeggiated ideas. And I just found this so enjoyable all the way through and engaging just because of the creativity of the violin playing for what really is a printed score. He's really just kind of taken that printed score and just sort of, there are no added notes, but there are sort of just articulations that are just fantastic. So I really liked that a lot.
I haven't heard anything of his that I don't like, and I think I picked The Mad Lover last year as one of my favorites. So this sweet tone, great phrasing.
He's got a big winning streak going on the Adult Music podcast. So absolutely. Highly recommend it for you Baroque lovers out there, and really anybody. All right, the next one. Now you chose the Bargiel, and I didn't want to choose both, but so I went for the other one, the other Hyperion Chamber release we did this year, and that's Ferdinand Ries, Piano Trio and Sextets by the Nash Ensemble. Yeah.
That was on my list when I had to choose, so I went with the Leonore, but the Ries, it was between the two of them. So
yeah, this is this was just gigantic playing, really again regal sort of playing, and these works are almost orchestral in their scope, but and just so beautifully put across on this album. This is on the Hyperion label, and it's from episode 80, Chambermaid, which we did on September 12th. Did I mention? Yeah, I did. Okay, I mentioned that one. So that's September 12th, Chambermaid, episode 80. Okay, next I had Lucy Horsch, Origins. She plays the recorder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was recent, episode 88, Horns of Plenty, November 7th. This is, we think of the recorder as being a Baroque instrument, and in fact, Lucy Horsch has two recordings of Baroque music that she put out before this one. This one goes into more 20th century music and applies the recorder in place of the flute in a lot of cases, and even the violin at times, and to really great effect. She's a very expressive player, and I was really knocked out by her tone and her playing and just the recorder in general in this music.
It's a lot of fun. As I think I commented in that episode, the recorder can sound a bit chirpy and like grandma's cuckoo clock after a while. But she uses a variety of different instruments. I think she's into the lower range as possible, like a tenor recorder or something like that. So you get a kind of variety of timbres and range, and the arrangements are good. And it's generally a lot of fun, that recording too. So I enjoyed that one as well.
Okay, next one is Haydn 2032 project, number 12, Le Jeu et le Plaisir. This is by Kammer Orchestra Basel, Giovanni Antonini conductor, on the Alpha label, and it's from episode 85, Joy and Meditations, on October 17th. Now, I picked this one. The very first symphony that they do on this recording really just knocked me out. Just all the balances and the winds and just the way it was all just performed and recorded just really knocked me out. If you're looking for a Haydn recording, this one's great. This was also the one with the Toy Symphony by
the birds,
which was kind of annoying. But and not only that, the very last work, which was called the worst Haydn symphony ever. But the very first one that they did on this, and I'm kind of quickly trying to look it up. I should have written this down, but I just the opening symphony on the album
61
really
in D major.
61 in D major. Yeah, this one really knocked me out. I just loved the performance and the balance and everything about it. Okay, I've got it up now. Let me just take a look here. 61. Yeah, that's the one I like. The worst one ever was supposed to be the 69, the Loudon Symphony, but that was great too. But I think this is worth hearing just for that. This is a highlight in that series, the Haydn 2032 series. I've mentioned before, and I'll mention again, that if you want to sample only one of that series, you want to go for Volume 4. I forget what it's called. That was from before we started the podcast, a long time ago. Okay, next, Johan Johansson, Drone Mass.
Oh, okay.
I liked this a lot.
right.
It really grew on me too as time went on. This is by the American Contemporary Music Ensemble and Theater of Voices, conducted by Paul Hillier on the Deutsche Grammophon label. It's from episode 61, Mallet Maestros, which we talked about on May 2nd. Now, Johansson recently died, and this album, when this album came out, it was sort of a big deal simply because his music really hadn't been recorded, right. And he died rather tragically. So we have some of his music here. It was atmospheric. It was really unique, and I really took to it. It's sort of it's not a difficult listen. It's a little unusual. It doesn't make real demands on the intellect, and we're really on the ear. And there's one track that Russ didn't like, I remember, that isn't on the CD for some reason. I didn't even hear it. I should have gone to their website. And I actually wrote to Deutsche Grammophon to find out what the deal with that was. And they didn't write back to me. Oh. So I don't know. But there is a track missing from the CD. Maybe the CD is the definitive one. I don't know.
Maybe someone else didn't like it either.
Maybe someone else, they said, hey, get this out of here. Anyway, Johann Johansson, I would give that a listen.
I didn't dislike the recording. Yeah. It's just very unique. It also incorporates some electronic sounds. It has very interesting vocals in a variety of effects and droning. Right. But it's kind of hypnotizing. Yeah.
Good sonics.
Meditative. Yeah. It's interesting. It's something completely different. Right. Yeah, so just that one track I didn't like. The one with the
one I didn't hear.
I think it had those like pitches that were like, oh, kind of falls and rises that sort of made me feel like I was losing my lunch on the way or something.
You can hear that one. That was called the cruelest wind I ever knew, or something like that. But that's not on the CD for some reason. Right. I'm still waiting for Deutsche Grammophon to get back to me about that. So let's see. All right. Next I have Mstislav Weinberg, Symphonies 3 and 7, which we recently heard on the episode 90, mostly made in Germany, November 21st. Oh, okay. This is Symphonies 3 and 7, Flute Concerto number 1. Marie-Christine Zupanchik plays the flute. Kirill Gerstein on the harpsichord on Symphony 3. I don't remember. Maybe Symphony 7. The Deutsche Kammerphilharmonie Bremen, City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Mirga Grajinte-Tila, who is a real up-and-coming conductor. And this is on the Deutsche Grammophon label. Now, Grajinte-Tila really made her name on her previous Weinberg symphony recording, which really introduced us to this composer's symphonic works. I personally think this one's even better. Both of the works are very appealing, as is the flute concerto, and it's a little dense, but it's not a difficult listen by any means. I thought these were really enjoyable and really inventive works, and I think you should listen to them. That's what I say.
We heard several Weinberg recordings. With this one, Symphony 3 in B minor, Opus 45, was the most interesting and rewarding Weinberg I heard until that point. It's also the most melodic, and I felt had a real richness in timbres, using the whole orchestra. If you haven't heard Weinberg, or if you had and thought, well, this is not really my thing, if you haven't heard this one, I would start here with Symphony 3.
Good choice, yeah.
It's not a hard listen, but it's surprising because it changes and it's quite unpredictable.
Yeah, there's some pretty interesting, a pretty interesting approach to the symphony in these. My next pick, Alberto Hemsey, Chamberworks, from last week, episode 94. Something is Swinging in Denmark, December 19th. Arc Ensemble on the Chandos label. So I do have a Chandos recording on my list. I didn't notice this one. This was a real discovery for me. Very appealing works. They're sort of, Hemsey was collected Sephardic Jewish music in his lifetime, and he applied it sort of like Bartók did with like Hungarian and regional sort of folk music in his works. Hemsey incorporated Sephardic Jewish like harmony and melodies into his works, and it's a real discovery. His orchestration is really spacious. It's highly appealing all the way through, I would say. I'd give this a listen.
Yeah, these are fun to listen to, quite rhythmic. Lots of variety. As I mentioned, the arranging is not like, how can I say, dense. So you can hear each line well. And the crossing lines made a lot of interesting harmonies for me. And really interesting use of modes.
Right, modes,
So you got Greek modes, you got Sephardic modes.
Right.
And then I think he also kind of, when he harmonized, and figured out the rest of the arrangements around the modes, he made some really creative harmonic movements with the chords that I found interesting. So I enjoyed that one a lot, yeah.
Okay, one of the highlights of my year is always listening to we got 2 recordings, the Mozart Clarinet Concerto.
Oh, okay.
And this is, I picked an album called Flow by Anneleen van Wouwen on basset clarinet. Now, one of the things I liked about this is also the NDR Radio Philharmonie, conducted by Andrew Mans. It's on the Pentatone label. Episode 62, Karmic Clarinets, on May 9th. We even named the episode after this one.
We did.
Now, this is coupled with a work called by Wim Hendricks called Sutra. And there were 2...
that one.
Okay, now, there were 2 recordings of the Mozart Clarinet Concerto, both recorded on the basset clarinet. Now, for me, that draws me because the basset clarinet has a lower dynamic range. It can hit these lower bass notes, and Mozart wrote the work for that specific instrument. So this is always exciting for me. I remember I have this really old recording of this by Thea King, which is still my favorite one. But I'm always, if anyone's going to record this on the basset clarinet, I want to hear it. Now, there was this one, and there was the one by this really one of the great classical clarinet concerto clarinet players, Michael Collins, who also played it on the basset clarinet. He coupled his recording with Richard Birchall's work, a work by Richard Birchall, which was also a clarinet concerto. And we talked about that one in episode 73, Heavy Hitters, on July 25th, if you want to check that out. Right. But I went for the Anneleen van Wouwen one because I found it... The Collins one is probably the more sort of accomplished recording, but the Van Wouwen one, I liked the energy better. And it just felt like freer and like she was like kind of exploring or discovering something new. So it really brought the work alive to me. The Hendricks work, Sutra, I've got a real interest in Buddhism, so I guess that kind of drew me to this. The work itself, I've heard it a few more times, and I'm like, it's okay. It's got talking in it. But I don't know. I don't know that it worked for me, but I didn't dislike it really. But I picked this one because I think I liked this performance a lot. I liked the approach a lot.
Right.
Okay. Next, one that Russ didn't like very much, I remember. Messiaen, 20 Regards sur l'Enfant Jésus by Bertrand Chamayou on the piano. This is on the Erato label, and it was on episode 93, Subtle Sonics, on December 12th. This is a spectacular piano recording. Now, it's a difficult work to listen to, but it's a great performance of this work. It's going to take some work if you're not familiar with it to listen to it, but I've been doing this work all my life, and I really loved this performance. Chamayou really is a great interpreter of, especially now, French piano music. He did a great performance of the Ravel piano works years ago too, and this one's Messiaen. This version of the Messiaen, I have 3 of them. One by Pierre-Laurent Aymar, one by Stephen Osborne, one of my favorite pianists, as we mentioned earlier. And now this one, and I think this one goes to the top of my list as far as this work goes.
Yeah, this was a lot of work for me.
It was a lot of work, basically. I've been doing the work for 30 years, though, so I'm okay with it.
If you've got a few days in solitary confinement or something like that, and you want to tackle a big project, you can do this. I mean, it's very interesting to try to get to the heart of his sort of harmonic language and figure out everything that's going on. And you can at least focus on hearing the different themes, the religious themes, the theme of the Father and the Son and things coming back again. So it's worth it. We'll take some investment to get to the heart of this. And you're just listening to it. To perform and record this 2-hour work, it must have been a real draining. It
would be rough to listen to in concert too for 2 hours. Yeah. I want to mention my brother said that this performance, or this work, not the performance is fantastic, but he said that the work reminded him of when his daughter was 2 years old and started banging on the piano. And in a way, though, he's not wrong because the spirit of play of one is there. Okay. And I really feel, like that children really would bring to anything.
Sure.
And I think that Shamayu captures that really well. But to me, it doesn't sound like banging, though, because it sounds like worlds being created. Anyway, my last pick, Sean Shibe, Lost and Found, episode 87, Fall Frets, October 31st, on the Pentatone label. This is a electric guitar. And I thought it was going to be this really loud, distorted sort of thing. I went into it feeling that. But it was actually a fairly calming record. And I was really surprised by that and by his whole approach and the tunes, the compositions, I should say, that he chose. So I really enjoyed this and found myself involuntarily listening to it again and again. So I want to recommend that too and have people listen.
Yeah, that one was interesting to me too. It's kind of unusual for him because he possesses, this really flawless technique, and we're used to being dazzled by that. But here he goes rather for sound and texture,
right?
And he incorporates the electronics into it a lot. I didn't dislike it. I was kind of.
I think what drew me to it I was so surprised by it, and in a positive way.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety on it. Some of it you probably won't like. But it moves on kind of quickly. I didn't find some of it terribly interesting, but other parts I found really fascinating.
There was one work that I can't remember which one it was now, but there was one that I was kind of like, because the one that was like kind of sort of detuning.
Yeah, that goes through these different.
He's dealing with the tuning pace. I didn't like that one much, but the album itself was
some of it
great.
that is so synthesized that you wouldn't be able to pick out that it's actually guitar and not keyboard.
Right.
But he's experimenting with different musical ideas rather than focusing, on his guitar pyrotechnics or whatnot. And so it's a kind of exploration. There's actually a kind of metal sounding piece on there, if I remember right. So something new and different. And guitar players should definitely take a listen to it.
And dear listener, those are your adult music classical recordings of the year.
This sound
will
be the official second segment. Oh, okay. There's a.
Is this being recorded now?
Beer number 2. We will. But
we've
segued into the jazz segment with the official premium malts opening of one of our favorite beers in Japan here, Suntory Premium Malts.
And what better way to start the jazz section than with a beer can opening? Well, I can think of better ways.
Yeah,
maybe
not
a bourbon.
We'll finish off the day with
bourbon.
that when we get down there. But okay, I turn it over to you and your picks.
I have to tell you, this was a very painful process because we've decided earlier on in the podcast that we'd only get 10 choices in the opposite person's because not to steal their fire because they're going to add a lot more to it, but we want to do that, and I had to pare back so much because I got to tell you this was Russ's best year of recommendations to me ever. Now listeners might say, oh well, you've only had 2 years, but in fact we've been recommending recordings to each other for over 20 years now. So I had so much that I liked this year, and that I'm just going to keep going back to. Great. All right, so anyway, let's get on with Mike's jazz picks, Mike's 10 jazz picks. Number 1, and this is a pretty predictable one because we both love Catherine Russell so much. So I picked Send For Me on Dot Time Records. This was from episode 58, The Ladies Sing, on April 11th. Now, one of the things I love about her is she pulls out a lot of old jazz tunes and gets not only a vocal, but her band as well performs them the way they sounded on these 1940s sort of singles, except that they're in modern sound and they just sound so fantastic. And she's just such a great singer, and it fits into the style so well. Now, in this particular recording, she adds a few sort of more recent sort of styles, like 1960s sort of soul type records too. It's not all as older recordings, older tunes like she had done in the past, but nevertheless we just love this artist so much I couldn't keep her off the list, although I was thinking about it though because I wanted to get other things on, but I'm hoping you'll mention them. Right.
Yeah, that Catherine Russell for me I guess she's my favorite jazz singer and the one who most deserves to be recognized at this stage in her career. She spent years as a backup singer
Right.
For David Bowie and other artists, and she really didn't, become a name for herself until she was almost 60, I believe.
Right.
And she's found this niche
Right.
in reviving a lot of these old and forgotten songs,
Right.
and she's got the great musicians to back her up, and her voice just creates a sense of joy and happiness when she sings, and that comes immediately to you. And every record is just more of the same in the best way possible. Everything sounds fresh and new, and this recording was no exception.
Yeah.
Jazz, rhythm and blues, and an uplifting spirit. You can't go wrong with this.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed looking at her Facebook page too. She posts like where she goes.
Oh, right. She was in Greece.
She was in Greece earlier this year. I was really
wanted to go back.
Really envious.
Yes.
Really would have loved to have gone there to hear her, but not this year. Maybe in the future. Anyway, Catherine wrote, this album is not nominated for a Grammy Award this year, but it wins our Grammy Award. Let me just tell you that for Vocal Album of the Year. I really loved it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Number 2. Ready for this? Oh, you probably picked this one too. Ankerfeld Santos meets Edu Neves, Cadencia Verde e Amarela on Gateway Music from episode 71, A Breeze from Brazil, July 11th. Yeah, just these great Brazilian sounds. A Breeze from Brazil, I think we named it maybe after this recording because that really sums it up. It's really beautiful. It's soothing. It's a nice sounding recording as well. I just liked everything about it, and I heard it quite often this year. Morten Ankerfeld, he finally got in touch with us.
Yeah.
And I told him, he didn't know who I was because I had bought the CD.
Right.
You had to get this from a Danish site. It's not on Amazon or anything like that. And he wrote back, and he didn't know who I was. And he said, oh, wait, you're on adult music? Because he was thinking of you, because you had tried to write to him too. So I had to tell him, I do the classical side, but Russ recommended this to me. So I picked this, and I told him that I was going to recommend this because I really loved the record. So we'll probably be hearing from him again, I guess.
I've probably gone back to this one more than any other recording. It's just a real magical mixture of music. And Ankerfeld is Danish. And so another Danish musician, but he's been recording with Santos, especially a Brazilian musician, and here they've got Edu Neves on woodwinds. This is a fabulous recording. It always sounds magical. It gets Mrs. Russ up dancing every time I put it on. Yeah, she likes this recording a lot too.
Mrs. Russ.
So Morten, excellent job here. This is fabulous. Check out, if you can find them, they've got a series of recordings together of Brazilian music. But this one is you're 2 for 2 so far, but this was right at the top of my
if I ever meet her in public, I can just go up to her and say, hi, Mrs. Russ, and see how she reacts. I think that'll be funny. Anyway, next, number 3, Helga Plankensteiner, Barionda. How awesome was this? This record, it had our favorite instruments on it. It totally swung. I should mention also, it's on the Jazz Werkstatt label, and it's from episode 60, Saxy Ladies, April 25th. How awesome was this? I just loved it.
Yeah, I just about exploded when I found this one. One of my favorite.
It's all like baritone saxes. It's like a load of them. It's just great.
I from things I didn't buy this year, I went back and I decided, and also the yen improved this week.
Yeah, this week we have a stronger yen, although it's not very strong yet.
I have a half dozen recordings arriving today as my own Christmas present, and this is one of them.
We're probably going to hear the bell ring on this podcast.
We may,
soon.
In fact, do that.
Yeah,
4 Barry saxes on one recording.
What more could you ask for?
Yeah, all led by Helga Plankenstein, who's actually Italian, but it's very north of Italy there. Great arrangements, exciting interplay, and these, you think Barry sax, how could you have 4, behemoth saxophones? But they actually, they cover the full range. These players are all really good,
are great,
enthusiastic. It's just so much fun right from the get-go. The first track will have you hooked. A wonderful find. If I wasn't doing this podcast and I wasn't searching for releases that come out every day, this is one that would have slipped. You're not going to find this one on any other list, but you should definitely hear this. One of the most fun sax releases of the year.
Yeah, absolutely hear it. Another one that both of us really loved right away, and there was no way I could have left this off the list, was Jean-Marc Foltz and Stefan Oliva. Indigo, right? Am I going down your list?
You're going down my list.
Yeah, because we both really loved all of these. This is on Vision Fugitive and from episode 55, America Abroad and Ranitsky releases, way back on March 21st. This was Duke Ellington tunes. And it was the clarinet or the bass
clarinet mostly. He does have clarinet in there as well.
Yeah. And
piano, that's it.
And piano, and they had previously done a Gershwin album, so this was all Duke Ellington, and just the whole sound of the bass clarinet throughout, like leading, and it fits in so well. And Indigo is a good title for this album. It comes from the Ellington tune Mood Indigo, but even so, there is kind of like a purpley sound to the bass clarinet on this too. It's a really atmospheric record that we really liked.
It's sensitive, beautiful. They really explore slowly with unhurried, sort of exploration of these intricate melodies, wonderful harmonies. I really want to get this one, but I can't find it for a reasonable price. If I ever do, I will.
I actually splurged on this one back in the day because I liked it so much. I was like, this is just going to disappear from my radar if I don't get it.
Yeah,
so
it's on Vision Fugitive. Records, so
which is probably their label.
Yeah, it could be.
Actually, I was looking at the Gershwin record too, and that's also this ridiculously high price. Like, how am I going to do this? All right, now the next one, I was looking at this one and a few others. I was saying, which one can I choose? But these guys actually mentioned us in a magazine, so I felt like I had to pick them, and I did love the record too. Spiral Trio, Broken Blue, on Odra Deck Records, episode 69, All Greek to Me, on June 27th. Yeah, just great playing and really exciting. This really introduced us, along with my next pick. I'll just go on to it. Yako Organ Trio, Safe Place. I don't have the label. Is it Yakovos Simeonidis Records? I don't know.
Which episode are we for?
That one is episode 64, Menage Trio, May 23rd.
That's a self-release, so it's on
self-release.
His own label, And Spiral Trio is on Odradek, which is a very interesting label.
I'm going to give a shout out to actually a classical musician who's also on that record at the end.
They have an interesting vetting process, which new artists are blind vetted by previous artists on that label. Yeah. And they don't know who, that is. And so the other artists decide if they're going to be accepted in. But this hands down, that's on my list as the best new piano trio.
Let's talk about both of them. The Yako Organ Trio we heard first.
Right.
And that introduced us to the whole Greek jazz scene, and then we heard the Spiral Trio one, and I was really just hooked. And we heard other ones too, but I just singled out these two. I love the Yako Organ Trio for the guitar and organ. Of course, Yakovos' guitar playing, and just it's another organ, performance. We just love organ on this podcast. Absolutely. And this one was not a Hammond B3. Apparently, we were hearing a different sound. And the Spiral Trio came after that, and we just liked what they were doing as well. So. Those two.
Yeah, definitely check out Yakovos Simeonidis, Safe Place.
Safe Place, yeah.
Yeah. Well, George Contraforos, the godfather of modern Greek jazz, on organ there, as we came to find out, who was also the piano teacher, the piano player for Spiral Trio. But Yakovos has got a really good kind of sense of blues and rhythm. Yeah. He's got a lot of really nice original tunes on there. If you haven't heard, we've got an interview with him this year too. Right. And we learned a lot about the background of Greek jazz and why, for kind of political, socio-political reasons, jazz kind of skipped a generation. But because of educators and education, university, and people like George Contraforos, it's coming back with like millennial and now Gen Z kind of musicians. So I think there's a lot to look forward to in Greek jazz in the future. But a great organ trio, all kinds of grooves, bluesy, those cruising grooves.
Right.
Contraforce is a great keyboardist. Very interesting drummer on this recording as well, too. But then, yeah, Spiral Trio is my pick for my favorite piano trio this year. It's all about interplay here. And the bass has an equal role in the melodic sort of development of what goes on in this trio. There's only one standard on this recording. The rest is all original. It's completely fresh sounding. There's a lot to listen to multiple times and really great sound on here too. Broken Blue, Ultradeck Records. Everyone should hear this. They're getting heard. They're playing around Europe more, and I hope they go on to really bigger recognition because I think they're one of the most promising and fresh piano trios I've heard in a while.
Yeah, I really hope that American listeners, and we have mostly listeners in America, are going to pick up on this Spiral Trio, Broken Blue.
Absolutely.
I'll give that a listen. And listen to Yako Organ Trio, Safe Place, too. These guys we contacted them, too. We talked to Yakovos, and they're just all really friendly and very enthusiastic, and I just really liked their energy
all
a
the
lot.
Greeks seem to know each other, too, so...
So they really kind of they sold themselves well. The Adult Music Podcast is on their side. Absolutely.
Next time I go back to Greece, I'm definitely going to check out the jazz scene.
Geez, if we ever travel again, boy. We'll have to do that. I'll go too. I'll have to go to.
I love Greece.
Number 7, and my other big name on this list is Cyrus Chestnut.
Oh, okay.
My Father's Hands on the High Note label, episode 73, Heavy Hitters, July 25th. This is my jazz piano recording of the year. And we heard a few good ones, but I just like his whole approach. He's got this sort of like gospel type style. It's very kind of easy on the ear as well as just very creative. And I just really took to this a lot.
Yeah, this one didn't make it on my final list, but I really did enjoy this recording. I think I'm going to pick it up too. I
actually already have it.
Oh, did you? Okay. It's on High Note. Yeah. And I should say High Note, I believe they price all their recordings at $15, which is a really nice kind of policy, I think, in this age of streaming.
Right.
Especially, for me, you want to have the recording to listen to it most of all, but you don't need that anymore because we have CD quality streaming.
Right.
But you do want to support the artist, and you do want to have it in your collection.
Yeah, that's the thing for me, because next year, I just won't be thinking of these records anymore. Right. But if they're on my shelf, I'll still go back to them.
And I really do, but not at $40 or $50 a piece. Yeah, so $20 or so. Yeah, this is a great Cyrus Chestnut recording. Dedicated to his father. He's got his normal working trio, Peter Washington on bass, Louis Nash on drums. There's some great tunes on here. The playing is, as you say, he's one of the few players that comes from a real gospel background. I believe his father was a deacon in the church. Maybe him and Eric Reed, another player, who's actually recorded an album together with, come from more of a gospel background. But Cyrus Chestnut has that massive technique too. Just great playing. This is a really, really good album. And he also includes a couple of his kind of at least one. He does Yesterday Beatles tune.
Right, the Beatles
tune.
Yeah,
he sometimes has some interpretations of pop tunes as well. Excellent recording. Yeah, I like this one a lot too.
Okay, number 8, Organic Ear Food. Self-titled album, Organic Ear Food, on the Jazz Sick Records label from episode 80, Chambermaid, on September 12th. That was a good episode. We had a lot of good things. This really intrigued me. The whole approach to it, the ensemble was rather unique sounding, and yet it wasn't a hard listen at all. It was just, I really took to this and have been listening to it ever since, really.
Let's see. I've got to actually... go back and look at my notes for this one. I do remember it well because it's...
I don't have my notes for it anymore.
It's Canadian pianist Bernie Sineski,
right?
Who writes interesting tunes as well. But this is Organ and Vibes,
right,
which made it so cool.
This is my only Vibes recording on this list, And Yeah, I mean, two things we really love, right?
Yeah, because this had a lot of Sinesky's original tunes on it. We got, let's see, One Never Knows. It's a nice tune by him. It's got My Favorite Things, Rogers Hammerstein. Let's see, Every So Often, Bill Amis. Blues for EJ, it's another Sinesky tune. His tunes are really good.
Yeah.
And it's got It's All Right With Me, Cole Porter tune. He's a really great keyboard player. I like this. The reason I picked this is because I knew his piano playing going back to Rob McConnell and the Boss Brass. Like when I was in university playing in big bands, they were like the cool big band from Toronto, and he had done recordings with them. But I didn't know his organ playing, and we both like organs so much, and I thought, well, Bernie Sinesky on organ, I want to hear this. And yeah, it's a really satisfying album, and it's got vibes too. So
yeah, vibes, and it's an odd combination. I was really taken by the whole sound of it. I was really the last two. I was really like, I had to leave so much out. I left a lot of the kind of bigger names out, and I went for like the more recent things because they're still in my ear. The first one is Matthias Strucken, I Loves You Porgy.
Oh, okay.
On the Jazz label, episode 90, mostly made in Germany. November 21st. I just love these interpretations of these of these familiar tunes, and Strucken's playing and in general. So I'm still getting used to this. It's a really easy listen, I thought, and
yeah, this is a good one.
Very appealing, and so is my 10th pick. Very appealing immediately.
Okay,
you want to go on? You want to say something about this?
I'm trying to.
You look for it. I'll give you number 10.
Okay, let me see. I got it. This is jazz. The vibes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. This is.
I got a lot of vibes, I guess. Organic UFO Loves You Porgy. Yeah.
This one I really liked as well. Let me see what my final sayings of it. Oh yeah. It's got his original tunes. Interesting. The covered tunes are kind of interesting choices. It's swinging, bluesy.
Yeah, swinging.
Gospel-y. They're Latin. There's a shuffle tune on it as well. He has lots of good technique. This is one of the recordings. We were talking about this earlier, but sometimes when you have piano and vibes, they're sort of, you don't need both. They're sort of stepping on each other's toes. Not in the case here. We had guest guitar and sax for a little extra variety.
I think the arrangements were good. They separated the vibes and piano quite a bit, and it really worked well here.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Sweet Emma, Nat Adderley is on this as well. Wes Montgomery's Road Song. And his own original, the Bossa. Yeah, this is a really good recording for Vibes fans. We did a lot. Whenever I see Vibes, I almost always do it. And, of course, the one I listened to that hooked me on this was Used to Be Jackson, the Milt Jackson kind of tribute. So, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, my 10th and final pick, and again, I just had to go for the Barry sax. Jason Marshall, New Beginnings, Cellar Live recording, episode 93, Subtle Sonics on December 12th. This is really old school playing. It's swinging. It's got the baritone sax. It's actually recorded sort of to sound like a 60s type recording, except that they're using like modern stereo.
Right.
But it does have that sort of the whole kind of tone of a 60s recording without the terrible recording techniques they used. Very appealing from beginning to end, and we just love that baritone sax, don't we?
Well, yeah, I bought this one. I already have it, actually.
I don't have it yet. Still waiting.
I called it meat and potatoes post bop.
It is meat and potatoes.
Or barbecue, even better, as we're going to be having in a while here.
Right.
Yeah, really good stuff. And I mentioned it again in the last episode. I really like the combination. Well, first of all, Marshall's playing is just, cranked up.
Right.
He's just can't wait to get those phrases out. He's got more than can almost fit into any one tune. But what I liked about this was the choices, because he's got these sort of well-known sax tunes. So you got Ricordame by Joe Henderson, but he adds this killer kind of new riff into it at the beginning, and it sounds big and bold on Barry, and he brings that back into the tune as part of, kind coming back after the solos. He's got a few standards on there. Rodgers and Hart, I could write a book.
Right.
But he's got Sonny Rollins' Origin on there as well. That and the Henderson of tunes we know from tenor. It just sounds that much more, bold and beautiful on the Barry and bigger. Black Orpheus, Louise Bonfa tune, another jazz standard. That sounds great. He's got a Mingus tune, Peggy's Blue Skylight, and his own original, the really bluesy dripping Ms. Garvey
right.
from the Roy Hargrove Big Band, where they did an arrangement of that. And then what was really interesting was the Quincy Jones Fallen Feathers, which is a tune, I guess it's been recorded a lot of times, but Cannonball Adderley, alto, sax, tribute to Charlie Parker, because it comes from, the tune is built around the lick from Parker's Mood, a B-flat kind of blues improvised in 1948, but Quincy Jones made it into a whole kind of minor blues dedicated to him. And so it's just from start to finish, a tight, exciting Barry sax recording. Yeah.
Not a bad way to end the year with something meat and potatoes, as we said. And my 11th pick, I'm really hoping that you chose, because I really wanted it on the list. I was hoping to do some Harry Potter magic spell to get it in there. But I'll let you know what it is later. I want to see what you got.
Oh, you want to see what I got? Yeah. Okay. I've got a whole bunch of them. I got too many. I couldn't
You may
hold
have
back,
all of mine. I kind of hope so. But let me see.
Let me scroll back up to the top of the jazz list, and I'm just going to run through them quick. Episode 50 that we referred to in our classical segment, First Anniversary Renaissance Men. This is the great Bill O'Connell. Change is going to come.
Got that on my list.
Okay.
On the one I couldn't do. Here we go. Okay.
So Bill O'Connell's, although Mr. O'Connell, this is not a very Latin-sounding name. He's a master of Latin jazz. You want to hear this one, first one come out under his own name in a while. It's a great recording. Shows his great tastes, cool compositions. The musicianship is fabulous here. Check out all the other recordings he's done. Jazz Latin, Bill O'Connell solo, and other ones. So this is just the one I've been waiting to hear for something new from him here, and this one doesn't disappoint.
Yeah, I was really surprised at how often I went back to this, because I thought, this is good. I like the really warm playing, but it really hit like a spot in me, and I wound up going back to it quite often. So I did have that on my list. That wasn't my number 11 pick, though. I'll let you know what it is when I go.
All right, let's see. I have to say it. It's another one of those more of the same, but it's when it's your favorite food, you can eat it every day.
Yeah.
Delvon Lamar Organ Trio, Cold as Weiss, Coal Mine Records from episode 57. The Ravolution will not be organized April 4th. So you got more of the same funky organ, your favorite blue plate special at the Greasy Diner. Or here in Japan, your yakitori shop.
Yeah.
It's greasy, smoky. It tastes good every time. Funky, bluesy organ. Anyone would like this music, not even jazz fans, just because it's got those grooves. So.
Yeah, the only reason this isn't on my list is because I picked Yako Organ Trio. I didn't really want to start... Although that didn't stop me with the baritone sax and the vibe recording, so I don't know what I was thinking. But again, I only had 10 choices, and those were the ones that were turning me on. So I did like this one a lot. That was really funky.
Right. Okay, a little more Danish jazz here. Thomas Fonnesbach, along with Piano Paisans, Enrico Pieranunzi from Piano Paisans, Something Tomorrow on Storyville Records. This is just, I think I called it at the time, effortless mastery.
Good word to describe it. Yeah,
it's great interplay, tight swinging, melodic ideas.
And with good form to it, too. It had like almost like a classical form, I felt like, these compositions.
It could double the length of any of the tunes with extended soloing. You'd still be just as interested. These are European masters of American jazz. So I definitely recommend that one from Piano Paisans.
That's not on my list, but I did. Again, I liked it a lot.
All right, I'm going to highlight a lot of other ones that were new discoveries, players I never heard, exploring the globe. Episode 66, the next one, Keyboard Seasoning. This is from June 6th. The Gabor Horvath Trio, Hungarian pianist with an album called Tricks on Hunia Records. And a recording I really enjoyed, unusual meters and rhythmic playing with an uplifting spirit, all engaging original melodies from Horvath. I like this a lot. Each tune creates a unique atmosphere. It's based around magic, the idea of magic tricks that he likes to also perform as well. And some of the tunes incorporate little musical elements that show up again and again. Really nice bass work and subdivided drumming on this recording as well. It always puts me in a good mood when I hear this one. And so I was really glad to discover some. We had some other Hungarian jazz recordings this year, but Gabor Horvath Trio is one of the more uplifting ones.
Yeah, this one stood out for me too, but I was kind of... One of the ways I cut down the list was by not including things that weren't on CD. And this one's unfortunately not on CD. I'm still hoping it'll come out because I did like it a lot.
Oh, okay. Same episode. Opus 5, Swing on This, Crisscross Records.
Oh, wow.
A great quintet. I always like to hear these guys, Alex Sipiagin and my favorite pianist, Dave Kikoski. This was from May 20th. Or the album was released on May 20th. It doesn't really get any better than this for modern post-bop jazz. Outstanding musicianship, great arrangements, action-packed solos. This group, I don't know, they have so many recordings out, but this was a new one. Boris Kozlov on bass. You got to hear this one if you like, small group, really hard bopping jazz.
Okay. Yeah, I liked this. I think I may even have this one on a CD. I think I
you
got
did
it
order
at the
this
time.
one, yeah.
I haven't been listening to it though. I'll have to go back and hear it again. Okay. But I do remember Kikoski's amazing creativity on the piano. He really just has endless ideas. Yeah. It's really fantastic.
All right, this is maybe one of my top three of the.
I can guess year. What it is. I think.
Okay. Episode 67, A Trumpet Tryst.
I know what it is. Yes.
Tobias Wickland.
This just
Swedish
missed
trumpet
my
player.
list too.
Silver Needle on Stunt Records. Actually, I should say cornet. Cornet is what he plays. And I wrote in my initial notes, this will definitely make my best of the year list. That was in June. I knew already.
Yeah, and you had said that to me, and that's why it wasn't on my list, because I only get 10.
And I said,
you
knew I was
mention this one.
Yeah.
Which I don't really want to be doing, because if I really loved it, I would have put it on. But I really wanted to get something else on. So
a completely unique approach to jazz and trumpet or cornet playing in this case here. His style is partially from a time capsule, like getting in a lot of, techniques and ideas Louis Armstrong used to use that we don't hear anymore, but also very modern in his harmonies and other type of playing. He also uses a lot of plunger mute. The compositions and arrangements here are interesting. And also he incorporates on this album some really nice brass arranging too. There's some low brass in here as well. The title, Silver Needle, is the name of a Chinese tea that he enjoys a lot. And that tune has a kind of wavering melody that, using a kind of, so-called Oriental sounding, like a pentatonic type scale. Just a great, fun recording, really fresh. And my favorite trumpet recording of the year.
Yeah, I thought this was pretty great too. Yeah. It stood out.
Let's see, episode 68, Keep Frenching Me, Baby. And this would be Matthew Motheret and Springbok.
I have this
Involutions.
This was one of the ones I had to kind of leave off. Yeah.
French organ quartet. I really like this one for freshness. A lot of French jazz just has a really fresh quality. And here you got all original compositions by Martha Ray. The arrangements are really good. I like the spaciousness in them. And I really like in this recording, a lot of times you'll get a recording where one player stands out, like their personality dominates,
right,
or they just have a contrasting style of solos that stands out. Here I didn't feel that. And even Martha Ray as the leader, he's not an outgoing kind of personality that's want to be the dominant force. Even on his own recording, the balance was all really good. And I really liked the kind of timbre choices. There's some bass clarinet on here too. And just a nice, well-balanced recording of all new music. It's a familiar format with the organ, but the tunes are all new and fresh. So.
Yeah, French, just like in classical music, French jazz musicians have their own sort of palette and take on the form, and they're always really interesting to listen to for me. I don't know what it is. That culture really fascinates me. I don't know.
More vibes. Episode 70, Summer Vibes from July 4th, and this was one Marco Pacosoni, Italian vibes player. Life. And we really enjoyed this.
We have a lot of vibes.
We do. It's hard to not pick these. We also got John Patitucci on bass here. It's a really engaging recording with really incredible sound quality. Nice original tunes that are catchy, very rhythmic, lots of variety. He's got marimba and vibraphone on this recording, and Patitucci uses electric and acoustic bass. The grooves are really good, and nice strumming on here from I think it's Pete Sanchez on this recording. So, one of my favorite vibes recordings of the year.
Yeah, I remember liking this too at the time, but I haven't really revisited this one a lot. But that's what the days between Christmas and New Year are for, so I'll be revisiting that as well.
Okay, I got 2 trumpet picks next, going back to Heavy Hitters, episode 73. This is Tom Harrell's Oak Tree.
I knew you'd pick this one too, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Tom Harrell I've followed since I was in high school. I've seen him play numerous times, talked with him a few times. And he's been not in the best of health. You know, he's in his 70s now. And I worried, will he be able to come back and be on top form? And here he is in a quartet format. So he's not sharing the lines with the sax player. You know, he's got to play the melody and go right into the solo. So if your chops are tired or whatnot, it's going to show. Not in the case here. All original tunes. Again, he's always been one of the most lyrical and melodic trumpet players and a very creative composer. And here this doesn't disappoint. Really nice release on High Note Records. Shows that he's still really in top form. So all trumpet players should hear this. To hear the Aged Master. Yeah. And my next pick is on the other end.
Yeah.
Bursting new, right peas from the pod here. Cesare Mecca.
Ah.
Yeah.
This is another one that wasn't on a CD. Oh, yeah. It really killed me.
Episode 74, Italian Explosion. Cesare Mecca on DDE Records, Shiny Hearts and Dusty Souls. He's a young Italian trumpet player. But this recording goes right back, paying respect to the 1960s, the old Blue Note sound, and earlier, with really boppy and hard boppy tunes. He's got one Chick Corea tune on here, and he also shows a flair for Horace Silver stylized tunes in his own compositions. His trumpet playing is swingingly melodic with fun ideas. Really, the saxes on here is good. And pianist Perazzo on here is good. We're going to hear the sax player that's on here, another Italian veteran, coming up in the next episode.
Oh, looking forward to that.
Yeah. But a young player rooted in the past coming up. Italy's got a lot of great jazz musicians, trumpet players especially. Check that one out. All right, we're going to stay in the brass, go to Bones, and this is trombone, Michael Deese, Best Next Thing.
Excellent.
Positone from episode 75, Rags and Other American Riches. We talked about Deese's previous release in the year before, and here he's with the top Positone sidemen here. But it's, let's see, he's getting some tunes from Claudio Roditi, Sonny Rollins here. Got Alex Sipiagin on here, and this recording led us to a discussion on our interview with Rudresh Mantapa, who's got a couple solos from outer space on this recording.
He really does. Yeah.
And, Royston Kozloff drums and bass.
I think this is the record with the solo of the jazz solo of the year. Gramophone always picks. No, the Grammy Awards always have an award for the best solo, but I'm telling you right now, we had a choice of two. Well, I don't remember what the other one was, and I forgot. But this one really stood out. Yeah, was Deese's solo following. Rudrash Mahantapa, on the very last track on the album. I believe it was. So listen to that. It's really incredible.
When you got to follow Rudrash Mahantapa and all you have is a slide. No, right. But he impresses.
He was very impressive. Yeah.
So definitely check that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we do love organ, and we always picking organ releases. I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out this just for coming out of. I don't know if it's really retirement, but everyone's memory. And so that's Ronnie Foster's reboot on Blue Note Records from episode 76, Essential Organs. No one's heard from Ronnie Foster in a long time, but he showed he still has it. It's a fun collection here. It's got blues, Latin, Santana kind of vibe, and here R&B. His organ sounds captivating. His son is on drums here, and he's got some Latin percussion as well. A really good, at least there's a little flamenco influenced guitar from Jerry Lopez, an entertaining recording. Organ seems to be coming back again. Unfortunately, we lost Joey DeFrancesco this year, but there's a lot of good recordings, and it was good to hear that Ronnie Foster still has the bounce and excitement in his playing.
Yeah, I think maybe it's because of this record, but I think Ronnie Foster's very first album was re-released this year as well on a physical format, so you can even go back to hear that as well.
Yeah, that's right. The 78 or something. I forgot the title of it. It's like a real classic Blue Note one.
Yeah.
Okay, I know you're going to like this one too because you bought it and I want to get my hands on it. Episode 77, Poetry Passport. That's from August 22nd. Todd Marcus.
That's my number 11. Okay. There it is. I couldn't get it on. I'm so happy you picked this.
In the Valley, Stricker Street Records, Baltimore-based bass clarinetist whose father has Egyptian background, and he incorporates that into his jazz compositions and getting all those interesting modes and things in there. It's a really engaging recording. Great horn arrangements is what stood out to me, with all of the counterlines and rich blends of different woodwinds, unique harmonies, great solos here all around, and Marcus's bass clarinet playing stands out, and we love bass clarinet. So if you haven't heard this, definitely check this out.
It's really unique with those modes, the modal kind of harmony that he uses too. I just loved it.
Exciting arrangements.
That should have been on my top 10 really, but I couldn't. I felt like I had to go with the ones I had,
Let's see next. One of the standout, unique sounding recordings gets some guitar in here. Calvin Keys.
Excellent choice.
Episode 81, from Summer Strummin'. That was September 19th. Calvin Keys' Blue Keys on Wide Hive Records. This is a recording, great grooves and looseness to the tunes with a huge bluesy influence. The arrangements seem to have a lot of space to just let things evolve as they happen. So you get a real fresh and spontaneous sound going here. Keys is a master of great riffs, lots of surprising ideas, varied tones. We got some two trombone players. Steve Toure guests on here, another trombone player as well. Gary Bartz is got some subtle guesting on alto sax. Toure brings his conch shells along. Put this one on with a good glass of whiskey. Very funky, fun, and well done. That was my concluding notes for this one. You want to check it out. And that'll just segue into Toure's own Generations. That's on Smoke Session Records. Also came out this summer. This is episode 82, Bon Appetit, of course, trombone, that is. It's another great release from Toure. I have most of his recordings. Great original tunes, cool arrangements here. The idea is we've got several elder statesmen now, Toure and Buster Williams, Ed Cherry, and they bring in young players. The pianist here, Thompson, just graduated Juilliard in 2019. Touré's son, Orion Touré, is on here as well on drums. And Wallace Roney Jr. And whenever you hear a junior, Wallace Roney Sr., a famous jazz trumpeter, his son is a really interesting player, very intelligent approach to his solos. And got the conch shells again. I can never get enough of Steve Touré's trombone playing,
right.
And this was a really good one too. A couple, my big band pick. It was hard to choose here because we do like Stephen Feifke a lot.
Yeah, and, I know you're a big fan. You used to play in like ensembles like this, right?
But my pick for this year, from episode 83, Beefy Beethoven and Big Band, is the Dave Slonaker Big Band, Convergency on Origin Records. It's a long recording, but it's all original music and really well arranged by Slonaker. The musicianship is fabulous on here. Showing all these tonal varieties and palettes from flute to bass clarinet, bass trombone, using all the mute combinations of the brass. It has, if you know the big band repertoire, you're going to get hints of, famous big bands in the past. You're going to get the Gil Evans and, little kind of homages to those type of things, but it's all fresh. And it's an hour and 20 minutes about fresh.
This is
big
one
band
I'll
music.
have to revisit. I don't really remember it very well. I'll have to go back.
It's hard to stick in the mind because there's no standards or anything else on there. So, but I think it's worth the investment. Okay, a few more.
I've got two more that you didn't mention yet, so I'm curious to see if you'll do them.
Piano, Cerebral Keys, episode 84 from October 10th. German pianist Matthias Bubleth, Orange Sea on Yellowbird Records.
That's one of them.
Okay, yeah. Just a fabulous piano trio recording. Maybe second to Spiral Trio for me this year. Bubleth is a real complete pianist, and in all aspects. The solos are great, complex harmonic ideas. Light touch. The compositions range from very boppy to swingy. There's Latin feels, a little gospel in here too. And the trio he has here, Kudek and Lettner, they work together really well. Now, I know that he also has a big band and organ group, and I want to hear those too. I haven't had time to get round to them, but I think this is a fabulous pianist, and I want to check out more from. Okay, we did an episode featuring a lot of Mingus work, so I had to pick one. They're all good, but I went Latin. I went Konrad Herwig, the Latin side of Mingus.
I went for a different one.
Oh, you went for the other one.
I went for the fill-on one.
Oh, okay, that was great too.
Yeah.
This is a series that Herwig has done the Latin side of a lot of jazz names, and so this one I liked because it's got Bill O'Connell in it. There's a sort of recitation from Ruben Blades as well. Also, we've got Randy Brecker and also Alex Sipiagin on this recording too. So all my favorite players. I just had to give a shout out to it.
Okay.
You wanted the other one though, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted the Meditations on Mingus Ethan Fillon on Sunnyside.
Yeah.
From the same episode 85, Joy and Meditations, October 17th. I just like the arrangements a lot.
Okay.
They were kind of... There was a little more wildness to it, and I liked the whole
that was a really good one
compositional approach to it.
I could have gone either way with it, really.
Yeah. Well, there's only one recording I have left on all my jazz picks that I rejected that you haven't mentioned yet.
Oh, okay. I got a few more.
Keep going. Let's see if it comes up.
Okay. This is a big name that's going to be on all the lists, but it's still on mine because I liked it.
This could be the one.
View with a Room.
No.
Julian Lage, Blue Note.
I did like this, though.
Yeah, great. Bill Frisell and Julian Lage. Julian Lage is always fun to listen to, very uplifting player. And as we said, Bill Frisell, as much as he tries to give the spotlight to Julian Lage, he can't help but put his stamp on the recording.
He really is, has some presence. Yeah.
Really great, free-flowing, wonderful recording. All guitarists probably already heard this. Check it out. All right, another trumpet player, one of my favorites, and I think one of the best in the world, Fabrizio Bosso.
Yeah.
We Wonder.
I was looking at this one too. This isn't the one I have on the list though, but
this is from episode 88, Horns of Plenty, November 7th. We Wonder on WM Italy Records. We Wonder, Stevie Wonder, of course. A tribute to Stevie Wonder's music that Bosso loved from listening to it as he's growing up. And we've got great clarinet on this one as well. Interesting arrangements. It's all uplifting, fun. A great Sir Duke on here. I can remember that arrangement at Super Speed. Yeah, check this one out if you don't know Fabrizio Bosso. My other vocal pick, actually, I've got two more. We mentioned Catherine Russell.
There are going to be a lot of links on this episode.
Yeah, there are going to be. Samara Joyce, new one, Linger a While.
Oh, yeah, that was nice. I liked it a lot.
On Verve. Yeah. This was in episode 89, Swingers. We covered her debut last year, also with Pasquale Grasso on guitar. Grasso's a little more subtle here, and Samara Joy has matured from all of her musical touring, and she's still very young, but she's showing great growth. A real classic jazz singer, you know, if you like Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald and that era. Here, her spirit reborn in a new, young, fresh jazz singer. So definitely check that out. We're going to get vocals and Barry sax, another sax. We love Barry sax here, so this had to make the list. But actually, I chose this one for the compositions. This is Gary Smulyan's Tad's All Folks on Steeplechase. Yeah. And this is from the same episode, Swingers. Just because it's all Tad Dameron compositions, some of which have never been recorded before. And so you definitely want to check this one out. Tad Dameron had a huge, stamp on everything from bebop and beyond. And you've got Anais Reno, the young vocal phenomenon, singing these songs that there's not really any other recordings to go and look on. A lot of them have lyrics with other lyricists, or Dameron wrote some of his lyrics, but they were never actually recorded vocally. So as an examination and deep dive into some of Dameron's music, and some of these tunes are really great. Any one of them could have become a standard on its own. And Smulyan's Barry sax playing is great. Okay, let's see if I'm going to hit this other one that you've got here. Episode 91, Low String Theory.
Nope.
This was a bass one. Santi Debriano and Orchestra Bimbe.
Wow.
JoJo Records from Low String Theory, November 28th. Great all original music from Santi Debriano. The arrangements here are great. This we just listened to this recently. It's like only a month ago, but a really fun recording. It's all about the arrangements here, I thought, and a wonderful bass playing. Huge sound from Debriano. Let's see.
You got anything else?
This one. Okay, I got two more.
All right.
Episode 93, Subtle Sonics.
Okay.
December 12th.
Recent.
This is just one. This is another one I just wanted to get in because, like the Greek recordings and like the Helga Plankensteiner, would have never found out about this. I still don't know much about this guy at all, but this recording, the more I listen to it, I like Alexis Liuko Trio.
Okay.
Finland piano trio, all original compositions. This is some very interesting, fabulous piano playing, rhythmically engaging, difficult meters. And it's on Eclipse Music, Super Sounds Music OY, that is. I don't know how to get a CD of this. I can't find it anywhere. But if you want to hear some very interesting music and what's going on in Finland, apparently Liuko also writes for big band and other things as well. So check out that name. I'm going to be looking for him in the future.
I'll keep looking for a CD for this one too.
All right, and it's Christmas Day, and so the standout recording for this holiday season, it's all your Christmas music in one. And, well, if you haven't heard it yet, you've definitely got to hear it and get it for next year. Anyway, this comes from episode 82, Christmas Music, You'll Be Merry. Winter a While by Robert Hicks.
I love this one too.
Velocity Records. Robert Hicks who's a pianist and vocalist mainly, and he does things like it's hard to say really jazz standards, kind of like a Chet Baker style vocalist, but he's really given his all and shown his great skill with arranging on this album. It's got 36 musicians on it. There's everything from string quartet to big band to it's just hard to explain. You just go back and listen. I spent a lot of time to go through every track on this on episode 82, but just listen to the recording. It's a complete Christmas and winter holiday journey, including new compositions. So
right.
Winter a While and
my personal favorite here,
Holy
Holiday
Hula.
Holy Holly Holiday Hula.
Yeah.
About Christmas in Hawaii. Yeah. It sounded very appealing to me.
Just so much fun. It took him more than a year to do all the arrangements on this album. Yeah. And you got the CD, right?
I have the CD now. It's actually a beautiful package, too. It folds out into 3. It's got all these kind of like sort of photos of, I guess, holiday decorations inside a house on the inside. It's really nice. It's good production too. Right. Good value there, and I'm happy it is because it cost a lot. Because it came from CD,
$40 or
baby.
Something, right? Yeah.
No, it was less than that. It was like more like 30, but that's still a lot, I think.
Yeah,
but worth having. I think I'll enjoy this every year. Absolutely.
Right.
All right. Now you didn't get.
I didn't get you one.
What was the last one? I'm going to trade out one of my other ones from the top 10 because I feel like this should be on the list. Doug Webb, The Message.
Oh, okay.
From episode 65, action-packed sax on May 30th. Brian Charette plays the organ on this one too, and we both loved it. And I didn't put it on the list because okay, this is one of the ones.
Oh, okay.
I was hoping you'd pick Todd Marcus, and you did, but then I thought this one you'd definitely pick, and you didn't. So I really liked this one a lot. All those saxophones. It was just great.
This is great. And there's 2 sax players on this one, isn't there?
There are 3.
Or 3, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember back. But what I do remember in my mind is that YouTube video that I threw in with the episode where Doug Webb plays like his collection of over 100 woodwind instruments all on one song. And if you haven't seen that, oh boy, that's,
I like this one right away, and you actually bought the CD really immediately afterwards. So I was kind of, this is one of those ones I thought, okay, I won't put this one on because Russell picked it.
I did enjoy it a lot.
I did enjoy it a lot.
As you say, there's so much to pick from. Over 300 recordings. Yeah.
But a lot of the jazz ones this year were really, really good. So as were the classical ones. I'd like to give so we're done with the jazz now, right?
That's it. That's my list. Yep.
Just a few shout outs. It was a really wonderful year for us. We grew a little bit as a podcast, and we got in touch with a lot of jazz musicians, and not all that many classical ones, but 1 or 2 of them did contact us, and I really appreciated hearing from them. I guess the classical musicians, they have more walls.
There's layers of contact. Yeah.
This is true in jazz too. Like we didn't get to talk to Catherine Russell or to any of the bigger names like Charles Lloyd. They're older and they have agents, and it's sort of hard to get to them. But in this case, though, we did hear from Paulo Oliveira, who did an album called Iberian Impressions on Odradek Records again. Right. And he wrote to us briefly telling us that he wanted to talk about what we said about his album. And what I said about it is that we really liked his idiomatic Spanish playing. This was on episode 72, We Hear Ya Iberia, on July 18th. And but we thought that the sound quality was dry, and he wanted to make some comments about that. And then he never got back to us. So if he's listening, I hope he'll send us a message. We did enjoy the album, and we do recommend it. But just keep in mind that as long as that sound quality isn't going to bother you, it's really great playing. And I wanted to also mention Mirko Palazzi, the baritone, on the album Venite a Intendere, music on Dante's verses, which he recorded with Marco Scolastra on piano on the Leonardo label. And we talked about that on episode 77, Poetry Passport, on August 22nd. He wrote to us after a review in which we liked the material, but not really the recording so much. And he sent us a live video recording of the material, which was really much better.
Yeah, that was better
than the sound and performance. It's a shame that wasn't released as the CD.
Record,
so you can check that out on YouTube. Actually, it's there. Mirko Palazzi, the concert of that material. So we recommend it. And if you're a big fan of Dante and Italian culture like I am, this is really music that you'll really enjoy. So I'll just put that out there. Also, the Renitsky Project by our friend Daniel
Bernardson,
who we met this year. He came to Japan.
Yes.
We went out for some delightful Japanese cuisine.
Yeah. And he hand-delivered us that recording.
He hand-delivered us the recording on the CPO label,
right,
which is Symphonies 37, Opus 37, 50, and 51 by the NDR Radio Philharmonie, conducted by Ralph Gupta on the CPO label. We talked about that on episode 90, mostly made in Germany, on November 21st. And he let us know that there are at least 2 more Renitsky recordings coming out in either winter or spring next year. So we have that to look forward to.
Keep looking for those.
I'll also give a shout out to the Naxos release, Orchestra Works Volume 4 by Renitsky, performed by the Czech Chamber Philharmonic Orchestra Pardubis, conducted by Marek Štilec. On the Naxos label. We talked about that on episode 61, Mallet Maestros, on May 2nd. Now, these aren't going to be on the links, but keep because we have too many of those. But keep them in mind, all of these.
And go back and listen to our interview with Daniel and Marek from last year, if you haven't heard it yet.
Yeah.
Get on the Renitsky train.
Just want to say to Marek, hi, Marek, hope you're doing well. Really enjoying the recordings. Okay,
yeah,
we didn't get to meet him. But
keep them coming.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely want to hear more Renitsky.
Yeah, keep them coming. We're looking forward to Renitsky. This was really the year we would have, I think, discovered Renitsky regardless, Daniel, because of that Harmonia Mundi recording.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, this was a lot longer than last year's. What happened to us?
Well, we had a lot more episodes, and I think just really good music this year. So.
We had a lot of great jazz this year. I was really turned on by a lot of the jazz I heard. And I think the post, there's that little week between Christmas and New Year's where there's nothing to do, and this is just an ideal time to actually reacquaint myself with a lot of this music. Some of it I don't really remember. I have to really go back and hear it.
It was hard to remember everything, I have to say, other than the ones that really stood out. But just a little revisit and say, oh yeah, that one, and then I wanted to listen to it again, and I felt that way about a lot of recordings. So
yeah. All right, there you have it. Our 2022 comes to a close. We will be back with you in the new year on January 1st, as it turns out.
And, well, I don't know, what can we say? I've already listened
to more recordings from this year. We'll be doing those for a while.
I've already listened to all the classical, and it's all really good for that. And I've got some sax for the new year for things to start out. So
I want to say for the new year, while we're waiting for a lot of the new releases to get going, last year we did a lot of themed episodes, and what wound up happening as a result of that is I didn't get in a lot of the contemporary composers I wanted to get in. So I feel like this is my opportunity now. In January, February, I'm going to try to get some of that new classical music going. I really feel like we need to be listening to contemporary composers, because a lot of people say, oh, classical music, it's dead. And yeah, it's dead in the sense that it's not really moving the culture in any way, but there's still really interesting music being made compositionally, and I think we should be hearing it. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of that.
Yeah, I don't know. Jazz is just always coming out, and I'll try to keep expanding my
those
parameters.
Independent labels, fantastic.
Starting with something I haven't done yet, and in the next episode, we've got some Bulgarian jazz.
That was a good record. I heard that already. Yeah, I gave that a listen already.
So glad you like that. We've got some Bulgaria. We got some America and Italy, and the records just keep coming. I put on Facebook today that there was like 20 some new releases, even on Christmas Eve. They're still coming out. So just got to keep on top of it and try to keep getting the best and also the widest variety of new things. So I can keep telling you that a lot of the stuff that I'm going to pick and talk about, you're not going to hear anywhere else, or it's going to take a while before other people get to it. So,
well, there it is. It's time to celebrate Christmas. So off we go.
I'm going to go light the fire, and we're going to open the bottles, and we're going to have a nice little festival. We wish you were all here.
Yeah.
But until next
time. If they actually showed up, we'd probably wish they weren't. But anyway, we'll just leave. We'll just leave you with that.
In spirit.
In spirit, anyway.
And so thanks to Brother Rich.
My brother Rich. Yeah, it's Richard Vezzuto, my brother.
Fast Signs of Staten Island.
Yeah.
Thanks for the glowing logo. And wish you were here for our Christmas feast.
Yeah, he actually wishes we were there, because I think he does like this big spread for the family.
That'd be nice.
So,
Could do a nice Italian
Yeah,
Christmas
it's very
spread.
Italian.
That would be good. But I could enjoy that.
It's
Anyway.
when you're a hyphenated American, like Italian American, it's like Italian, but it's the Hollywood version of Italian. So it's that amplified to like massive portions. Yeah, so that's what it's like.
Yeah.
Can't say I don't miss it.
And as I mentioned at the beginning, check out those other 3 podcasts that you'll find links for right as we sign off here. I'll put those promos up there. And we'll be back with episode 96, first episode of 2023. That'll be released on New Year's Day, a week from now. And after this episode goes up, I'll get up the playlist for that. This episode, I didn't release the playlist ahead of time because it's supposed to be a surprise what our best picks are.
It's really not. I went a little conservative, but I'm going to go because I have like a little message for the listeners for the new year when we do it. That's why I did it this way. But we'll be getting a little more adventurous pretty quickly. So, okay. So
if you made it to the end and you haven't heard any of these recordings, you've got something to do over the break on the way to the family's house, grandmother's house. Got some time, downtime.
Yeah.
Fill it up with some good music. Click on the links. Download them to your phone.
Although, if you're listening to this podcast and you're an actual adult, you're probably doing all the preparations yourself.
Yeah, could be. So, if you're mom or dad in the kitchen, get some little helper, a little shot over you could put on the side as you're mashing those potatoes.
Yeah, I got lots of those.
Get the Sonos speaker or the
Sonos,
the headphones or whatever you've got to get you through the holiday preparations.
Yeah, we should mention we are big proponents of Dolly speakers on this podcast, but those are pretty high end. So,
well, whatever.
There are some
do the best you can,
ones, I guess.
Yeah,
but
they got all ranges now. So, check out the good music, and we'll be thinking of you as we go celebrate Christmas now.
Yeah,
and we'll be back again in 2023.
Yeah,
with the new episodes of music. So until then, keep listening, and we see you for episode 96.
Yeah, enjoy the music, everybody.
Gerald Albright, Rhea Schneider, Charlie Hunter, Duke Robillard, Sean Jones, Walter Beasley, Steve Swallow. Something Came from Baltimore is a jazz, blues, and R&B podcast and radio show, and it's not really about Baltimore. Subscribe to the podcast and listen to your favorite artist or future favorite artist. That's Something Came from Baltimore. And be a part of that Be More music scene. Joe Lovano, Jeff Coffin, Paula Cole, Danuzo Makatani, Ann Passio, Ches Smith, Thumbscroll, mostly.
Hi, jazz fans. This is the founder and host of Neon Jazz, Joe Domino. It's both a weekly radio show and interviews with musicians from all over the world, like the Netherlands, New York City, and back to Kansas City, the home of Neon Jazz, covering the rich history and modern world of jazz in a fresh way, featuring interviews with the likes of Arturo Sandoval, Sonny Rollins, Maria Schneider, and countless others. Find our weekly show on Mixcloud. Subscribe to the interviews via iTunes and YouTube. We are Neon Jazz.
Same difference. 2 jazz fans, 1 jazz standard. A review of a single jazz standard through music, history, and stories. And this is AJ.
And this is Johnny.
If you are a jazz fan and you like jazz standards, bebop, show tunes, ballads, you name it.
Yeah, we've got them here. We drop a new show on you every other week, and we take a standard and we listen to a few different versions of it.
Same difference.
Come join the fun.
Looking forward to seeing you.